listening to Opie and Anthony. On the virus, Sirius-XM.
Hey, Mike Baker, you like Yammy Doll?
No.
Jeez, that's what I'm getting for Christmas.
That's crazy.
Are you a fan of the black gas?
I'm just proud to be following the black ass discussion.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah, that's what I've always been hoping for.
Yeah, the guy's, former Fed. And
that one,
he's got to follow this.
He understands black ops and black gases, right?
It's the same
Mike?
thing.
Is that the same thing?
Yeah, sure
okay.
is.
Yeah.
And what the fuck to do
It's a
with
wet
that?
job.
We just got these magazines.
I'm
doesn't like them.
I'm not attracted to the giant behinds.
I don't mind it, though.
There's nothing about the big thing that's doing it for
doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
I like proportioned girls.
I gotta say, I'm in your camp on that one.
Yeah.
It's.
So you're a racist too. That's good.
I am essentially. Yeah, I think that's where we need to go with that. Yeah, thank you.
The race has as much to do with it as the giant ass does, but I'm just not into that.
I gotta tell you, I was at a dinner, not to name drop, but I was at a dinner last night with Michael Hayden, former head of the CIA, and how proud would he be to know that the next day, I'm having this conversation.
It just shows that you can really bounce from one subject to another.
Yeah,
You're
either
a jack
that or
of all trades.
Yeah, I think that's. I like to think that's what it is.
You need that to assimilate in the field.
Your ability to improvise, exactly.
It's like, 1 minute you're acting like an intelligent guy, the next minute you're acting like a big giant ass.
So looking at one. Sure.
Then let's talk football, man. You a football fan? We want to do
Giants.
You're a Giants fan?
I am.
Get out!
All right. Well, good night and thanks for coming.
I'm a Jets fan. I took a beating this week. You hear about this player though? I don't know how to say his name. Keith Fitzhugh or something like that. The Jets want him on the team. Yeah. He said no. He'd rather be a train conductor because it's a more stable
Maybe he likes
job.
the hats. I know I certainly do.
He says because it's a more stable job.
I think I heard about this coming in. He said it was more stable in this economy, and he wants to have health insurance for his parents.
But can't
something like that.
Can't the company he works for go? We'll keep your job for you. Go play a little football, and you come back and see us.
Is this guy coming out of college already, or is he?
I'm not really sure. He's wow. I guess he's just a free agent. I guess he's played in the league before.
I think I just looked at him in Straight Stunting magazine. To tell you the truth.
Just put a wig on him.
Yeah, she was just in that Lakers uniform.
Yammy Doll.
Yammy Doll.
Yeah. Yammy Doll rules.
Doll and nothing. Yammy Doll.
But the healthcare is good.
What?
Yeah, the healthcare.
Mike is now perusing.
See, you can't help yourself.
Straight Stunting magazine.
He's just looking through it like he would look at a dossier.
Yeah.
Someone's dossier.
Yes, like he's looking for Colonel Kurtz.
It's got the little subscription on the bottom of it that says Jim Norton.
Yeah,
I do enjoy.
Can I read out your home address?
Sure.
Because Anthony is asking, Yammy Doll's measurements.
I was asking. Okay.
How about you guess?
All right. Let me see.
You'll get the
Yammy
first
Doll.
one right.
All right. The first
600?
one has to be, is it in the 30s?
Sure.
38.
All right, 36.
36?
Then she goes 27.
Get out of here. They're lying.
She goes 62.
45.
45? Come on.
She's too fat for me.
45.
Look at this.
Looks bigger. I just said
That's actually not bad, but it looks like implants.
That's not bad.
Not
That's
bad.
terrible.
You could land a predator drone on that ass.
He knows it.
We used to do that.
That's what he calls his cock.
The predator drone. Oh, damn.
Thank God it's still armed.
Hey, did you hear about this WikiLeaks thing? Interviewer questions.
Do you got a minute to tell me about it?
Maybe we're breaking the news to him.
You're a Giants fan. There you go. Take a look at 7 from the calendar.
It's number 7.
Nothing?
Look at that. No, that's good. That's good.
What? They
Better
all
look
just
at that
have
than Justin Tuck's ass.
big fat asses. That's it. It's terrible. So you have heard about this, hey?
Somebody called me and told me about it.
Somebody told you about it.
Yeah.
Why is it a big deal? Because, what were you saying yesterday, Jimmy?
I have mixed feelings about it. A part of me likes what he's doing, and a part of me... here's the things I don't like. Like, people say he released stuff like...
the Commie Pinko Party likes it.
No. Locations of sensitive information in the U.S. I don't like. Names of operatives overseas, I don't like that. I don't like those guys being put in danger. Or anything that would endanger troops. Like, whatever that's... But there are things he's releasing like... Saudi Arabia wanted us to attack Iran. And I am so tired of this relationship with that country that I want all that dirt. Like, or anything with Britain and Libya. Anything that went on there with that sickening thing where they traded that fucking murderer for whatever it is they gave him home relief, like that type of stuff. I want to come out.
So you wouldn't be conflicted if Assange had come to you first and kind of cleared what should be released.
You know what? That's I mean, there's certain things that don't like. There's certain things that I think could endanger people that I don't like, and there's certain things that where it really is fighting secrecy.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people feel the same way. I mean, a lot of people look at it and ask that question. Why is it a big deal? And you know what I mean? First and foremost, it's a big deal because the guy that stole all these documents, Braley Manning, is guilty of espionage. Now what he's done is he's passed these on. Assange himself he's a douchebag, but he's doing exactly what you would expect a douchebag to do. He's an anarchist, right? So he's releasing all this crap. I mean, so you can't be surprised by his actions or by his supporters' actions.
Yeah.
And it's just that the biggest problem when you look at what's going on with WikiLeaks is it erodes our ability overseas to have candid sources and contacts, because every time this happens, you lose, whether you're talking about a CIA guy or you're talking about a State Department official, you lose the ability to have a conversation with a potential source of important information, because I think there's no way you're going to keep this secret. You can't keep your yap shut.
Yep, and they're not going to be as forthcoming if they find out that behind his back you turned around and started bad-mouthing him to somebody else. Even if the information doesn't seem sensitive, you're ruining a relationship there.
But that's the stuff, that office politics shit. Well, Hillary said some stuff about the King of Jordan. Who cares? Like, I'm a big believer in the U.S. should fucking avoid everybody. And if somebody bothers our interests, we should drop so many weapons that we're embarrassed in 6 months. Like, I'm a believer in pulling our troops out of fucking Korea. I'm sick and tired of protecting the ungrateful South Koreans. I don't give a shit if Kim Jong-il walks in and takes the whole country back. I don't care. That's what I'm saying. So I'm tired of this whole thing.
No, I mean, I think there's a lot of crap in the. I mean, it's what, a 250,000 documents. So there's a lot of it's just going to be real pedestrian and atmospherics and bullshit. But inside all of that, just with the State Department, let alone the documents they released from the Pentagon. I mean, in that Pentagon batch of documents, you literally could go through and identify sources on the ground in Afghanistan and Iraq that we were working with. Now, those people, if they're not dead yet, once they're identified, that they will be then. But in this group of State Department documents, a lot of it's just atmospherics and crap about, this is what I really think. But there are a lot of details in there that shouldn't be made public. And again, I go back to the same thing, which is that if I've got a source who works overseas in some hostile place, and he's in the Ministry of Interior or whatever, and I've spent a year and a half kind of schmoozing this guy up to the point where he's now going to start talking to me about what their actual plans and intentions are, because we need that insight if we're not going to do something stupid in our foreign policy. Well, now that becomes a much more difficult job every time this crap happens, every time this shit gets released.
Yeah. But what about, like this is what bothers me about the way they're attacking Assange, is the media. I mean, one guy called up yesterday, he goes, well, the media clears a lot of this stuff. You don't know that they do, but they do clear. But those fucking vultures, like, a lot of them are releasing and printing what he put out. It's like, it's almost like, what's the difference between him and the media? And it's like, well, they targeted two reporters, Woodward and the other guy, targeted Nixon. Yeah, and they, in effect, brought down a president. So where all of a sudden this integrity with what you should release and not release by the media when they targeted and ruined a presidency? Maybe people say he ruined it himself, but...
You're not saying the media is self-serving.
No,
I know you're not going there.
You know what I'm saying, though? Like,
no, but you're right, and that's part of the argument. Everybody's getting there, and the right certainly isn't doing any favors, because some of that bullshit about we got to execute him, we got to go after him, we got to for espionage and talking about Assange. Yeah. Well, you know what? Again, I go back to it. Look at the source of all these documents. This private who's now sitting in the brig and who's got some serious bad things coming to his way. Yeah. But Assange received those. Now, if Assange actually helped him, if he somehow provided him with technology to help him access those documents, to download them, to pass them, well, then he might be culpable. They might be able to go after him. But you're right. Assange and the New York Times, they're just a conduit for this crap once it gets out in the system. And, there's very little in reality that you can do. They're talking about, and Holder, for some reason, is trying to put his big boy pants on and act tough. But he's talking about we go after him for espionage. Well, that ain't going to happen.
He's not an American citizen.
No. And you're just not going to get him for espionage on something like that. No. What about these charges that came up, though, that they hold him on? Now, you've been on the inside. Is this kind of a thing like, all right, well, you did this, Now we do this.
Right. Well, obviously Assange says it is. He says that you're talking about the sex charges, the rape charges, and molestation charges in Sweden involving 2 WikiLeaks volunteers, these girls that were there, and he traveled to Sweden, and he's up on charges apparently for rape and molestation with one of them, and molestation and non-consensual sex with the other one, and it's insane in a way, because what they're arguing these fine points. Apparently, they have a very low bar for rape charges, molestation charges in Sweden. I mean,
stay out of there.
Yeah. You don't go anywhere near Sweden. That's what the viewers' takeaway is.
Bunch of sticks in the mud.
But they're talking about, part of the problem is maybe he had sex with one of them when the girl was sleeping. And maybe one of them, he didn't wear a condom. And then you think, the guy's an anarchist. Why would an anarchist wear a condom, first of all? I mean, so how's that going to stick?
Totally goes against anarchy.
I don't know where I'm going with this whole thing. But I don't think this is going to happen, because what they've got is they've arrested him in Britain. They've
no bail.
No bail. But now here's the great thing about Europe. He has the right to appeal to what they call the European Court of Human Rights.
Oh, wow.
Right.
That sounds like something that you
imagine
really
where this is going to go.
Yeah.
There is no chance in hell, and I'll bet a month's salary on this, that he's going to get extradited, or that he's going to actually be brought up on these charges.
But the thing is again, I can see he's a child murderer, but I mean, a guy that is accused of 2 sexual things. Really? Would they arrest him in Britain and hold him without bail? I mean,
it's so public.
That happen? But I'm saying, would that really happen in most cases? No.
Well, he's a flight risk. And that's a legitimate thing. And so they've not posted the bail. But you're right. I mean, it's a very easy lift for Assange and his lawyers to talk about how this is politically motivated. Now the Swiss authorities are saying it's not politically motivated. And quite frankly, the guy's such a douchebag. I'm sure the charges are probably accurate, but he's got a very easy time right now of defending himself.
The timing is what is really something here, and it's so public, it's so out in the open, that it does make people look and go like, wow, if you cross the government like that, they're going to find something to throw you in jail.
Yeah.
for.
Do you think about 80% of the listeners right now wish you'd go back to talking about black asses?
No, it's the biggest story in the world, dude.
Probably
well,
not 80%.
I'll ask you a question. Would you wear a condom if you were having sex with Yami Doll?
Yami Doll's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yami Doll.
I think I think you always got to worry about protected sex, whether it's Yami Doll or anyone. Yeah, you got to be responsible.
She's wearing a little Lakers outfit. She's got
it's not a little Lakers
outfit. She's got 2 basketballs in her butt.
Wearing a condom implies that you're actually having sex with that person. So
you wouldn't have sex with
No.
Why? Why does your sex have to be perfect?
I do not find that.
Why can't it be a little messy and sloppy?
In the least.
Honestly,
you like sloppy shit, right, Mike?
She looks from here, and mind you, I think it's important to note that this is about you're holding it about 15 feet away, but she looks a little like Kobe from here.
Yeah. She really does.
Yeah,
Kobe with the wig.
What do you think? To single-handedly save the United States of America, would you, as a patriot?
If you're talking about the ticking time bomb situation, the ticking Yami situation, if this were like an episode of 24, you'd have to. You'd have to pull the trigger.
Throw yourself on top of the grenade.
Exactly. Yeah. And I see no way around it. But you just disappear into that.
You're a great American.
Yeah, you'd never come out. It'd be like spelunking.
Why did the private do it?
Why would he do it?
He knows he's going to get caught, right?
Because he's an asshole.
But he had to know, or did he think he was going to get away with it?
No, everybody who does something, you could argue everybody who does something stupid like this thinks they're too smart to get caught, right? I mean, you see that all the time.
What was his motive? That's a great question.
And how did he get caught?
Yeah, money.
Does anyone know?
He got caught with. There's firewalls set up, and there's breaks supposedly on the system that are supposed to point out the fact that you've downloaded 700,000 documents. I mean, somebody should notice somewhere. And so, but in terms of why did he do it, I'd be speculating. I think he was not coerced. That's the wrong word. He was influenced, I think, to some degree by some associates around him, possibly by the WikiLeaks people. I think perhaps he was a conscientious objector. Although just have the balls to quit at that point. Figure a way to get out of the military.
We're not really hearing much about him. Like we're hearing a lot about WikiLeaks and. Whatever his name is. What is it?
Assange.
Julian
Assange.
We're hearing a lot about him and WikiLeaks, but we're not really hearing about this private that much.
I think he's being questioned.
Is that it?
You think they're questioning
That's going to be a problem. Now his defense will be that he was tortured while he was in the brig. It's all going to come back around. No, you're right. I mean, the story became very quickly two things. It became this issue of transparency, as if somehow it was okay for all this crap to be out there anyway.
Yeah.
And it became sort of the salacious comments that, you know what it's like? It's like, remember those 10 Russian spies that got picked up? Everybody went crazy for about 30 minutes, and then the whole conversation was about how hot Anna Chapman is.
Right?
It
really changed the subject.
We completely lost sight of the fact that, okay, these guys were not, none of them were Lex Luthor, right? None of them individually were going to turn the world around, but the Russians clearly have the interest, the resource, the time, and the motivation to be operating networks like that. It's not the only one here in the States, I can guarantee that. And we lost sight of the fact that if they're willing to run these, schmucks out there just to spot people, their job wasn't to do anything other than just spot somebody of interest, pass them off to one of the serious folks that are actually doing the spy work.
Yeah.
But we lost sight of that. And it's kind of like this with the WikiLeaks. You lose sight of what's really important because, the story's kind of, entertaining in its own way. Not as entertaining as a Yami doll. But
no, of course not.
No.
And it's got that intrigue thing, and it's got... it doesn't seem to have, though, the real money shot of memos. The one that, says something really... It seems like it's kind of catty stuff that's going on between... embassy people and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, it is. A lot of that, just like Jim was talking about, is you read it and you think, oh, so what? Who cares? Let the stuff out there.
But the bigger picture is that it is kind of an. It kind of opens up our security and how we work with diplomats and people around the world. And, it kind of it opens up your hand a little bit.
Well, you get desensitized to it, and that's what happens. Everybody gets desensitized to the fact that some more secrets are out. So what? Yeah, move on. Who cares? Well, the world isn't a benign place, right? There's a lot of bad things that go on out there. A lot of bad people trying to do horrible things, and you need an element of secrecy. If we operated in a completely transparent world, we would be completely fucked.
That's exactly what I was saying yesterday. I was talking about Iran-Contra and just covert operations. They're called covert for a reason, and they're supposed to be covert. It's supposed to be going on behind the scenes, and it's for the best interest, for the most part, of the country, in one way or another. And some people, sometimes even Congress, aren't supposed to know about these things. Could you imagine Congress and the red tape of having to go through all this horse shit and legalities and stuff? You gotta sometimes, you worked in that environment, you gotta sometimes cut some corners.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a well, and with that, but no, you're right. I mean, there's an understood game that goes on too, to some degree.
Yes.
Where we're going to task you. You're going to go out there and do this, whatever the operation may be. If anything really goes wrong, we don't know anything.
You're on your own.
Yeah, you're on your own. And by the way, we're going to probably have a committee, formed to crawl up your tailpipe and say, how you screwed up
and realize how you were the bad guy.
Yeah, and
the secretary will disavow any knowledge of your actions. Good luck.
This is what bothers me about it. This is why again, I've said the things that I don't want coming out. That's where it annoys me. But I'm tired of the U.S. and our phony politeness. Can we stop being polite to the rest of the shit planet?
Apparently we can't.
And stop, the fact that Guantanamo, like offering millions of dollars to a country to take a few prisoners. All that money could be preventing our taxes from being raised, and we're giving it to some fucking dump of a nation to please take a few prisoners, or, hey, Obama will meet if you take one of these guys. Fucking stop it.
That's a funny one.
Stop trying to be the world's policeman and be nice guy. It's just...
We'll give you Obama and a meeting with Bob Gates if you take two of them.
But you know what I'm saying? That's the shit I'm tired of. Yeah. And if Saudi Arabia wanted us to hit Iran, and if Saudi Arabia is refusing to dismantle these charities that are fun, why are they doing that? It should be public. It should be public if they're giving cash to Al-Qaeda. Well, they stink.
Yeah, and I think that's why this thing is such a problem, because a lot of people think, well, screw it. Some of this information shouldn't be classified. And that's true. Crap gets overclassified, right? And if we were smarter about it, then we probably could resolve some of this, because then you'd be serious about what actually is top secret, and you'd firewall it off, and you wouldn't have access to it by some dirtbag who's
not in the
private in the Army and has a problem with the military.
Not in the same category as the water cooler's empty on floor 3.
Yeah.
Can we get somebody up there to fill it?
I talked to the custodian who told me in private.
And it's in the same category as like top secret shit.
How high of a level did this classification this guy have? Like maybe there are stuff like NSA documents and stuff that he could never get his hands on.
There are. I mean, that's true. You know, there's shit that he wouldn't have seen, but. And part of this is the way that we always react. 9/11 happened, so all of a sudden, oh my God, what do we got to do? We got to form the DNI. You know, we got to make DHS. We got to create all these bureaucracies. And a big part of after 9/11 was nobody's sharing information.
Yeah.
So now what we saw with the fact that Manning was able to access hundreds and hundreds of thousands of documents all over the place was a result of this reaction saying, oh my God, we've got to be able to have a free access to information between all the agencies. Well, now guess what? Because of what he's done, all the the Pentagon and others are looking and going, I don't want them to see my shit.
This wasn't our problem. You guys, we gave you the information, and it slipped out on your end, so we're not going to give it to you anymore.
So I suspect we'll go back to some halfway point where it's not a free flow, but you still got to get. I mean, I got to get information across to the Pentagon to take action, right? Or they've got to get it across to our guys to take action. And so you've got to have some of this, otherwise, you got nothing.
Right.
But we went way too far, as we typically do.
Yeah.
But it's also, can't they just put a better firewall or have a better, and there just should be one more, what's the word, one more stop or one more checkpoint that you can't get through? Because again, considering how many documents are available, this is the first time that this has happened publicly, right? Like, it doesn't happen that often.
Here's a happy thought. It happens more often than you would think.
Yeah.
I mean, people have access, but in an Intel environment, normally you do have a lot of checks and stops and breaks, and you constantly have multiple layers of access, and unfortunately though, this guy was in sort of ground zero where all this shit was collating, and he had the opportunity, but again, like you said, we've lost sight of the fact that what he did was incredibly wrong, and it got passed, and now it's out there in the open.
Yep.
But we're spending all our time, at least certainly on the Republican side, they're spending all their time screaming about Assange, and again, it's serving to desensitize us to the real problems.
Right. Oh, by the way, the Republicans wanted. Who do they want? Who was it that named Valerie Plame?
Valerie Plame.
Yeah. Who was that? Was that Scooter Libby, or was that one of those guys? Were they calling for his execution?
Right.
For I don't remember them calling for his execution or him being treated as a traitor.
It's actually interesting because I mean that not to completely drift away from the big black asses, but I think what we had was with Valerie Plame was interesting because the Dems were. They were kind of up in arms about the whole thing. Everybody was a little bit set back by that, right? I mean, she was outed. Although you could argue that she's married to a U.S. ambassador. It was really no secret where she worked because he's a public figure and a fairly outspoken one. But now what you've got is the Republicans up in arms about this, and the Dems kind of defending the WikiLeaks thing. Not defending it so much as just not showing the same level of outrage. But then again, fuck the outrage. I mean, everybody's standing around saying, "Where's the outrage?" And you think, well, after a while, enough of the outrage. I'm too tired to be outraged.
Enough to be outraged about.
Hunt him down in trees. It's just such idiotic. That's where the conservatives are really annoying me. It's like I don't want to hear it because you didn't go after to me, the one who outed Plame was worse because they were an American diplomat who did that. They're American citizens.
It was Bob Novak in one of his columns, and
wasn't that an accident though? Didn't somebody mention her first, or what was it? Or he felt justified in doing it?
He felt justified in doing it.
Funny, nobody called for him a treason
No, exactly. Well, who knows? Maybe because he's part of the media, and that's just kind of what's expected.
Yeah, with freedom of the press, you get into that weird area of, is this treasonous? Is it sensitive information that they're letting out? Or is it just the freedom of the press when they get the information to put it out there to the people? Right. And in this situation, with the advent of the internet, it's just now instantaneous. Like this guy, what channels would he have had to go through to get these documents so widely distributed even a few years ago?
I mean, even a few years ago, just to get all this information,
you would have had
to recruit hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sources, to provide bits of information over here about Somalia, over here about China, over here about India, whatever it was. God bless the internet. I hate the thing. I absolutely. I got kids, so no wonder I hate the internet.
But I think
that it's. Yeah, I don't know. They're talking about criminal charges now against Assange, and again, I don't think. Honestly, at the end of the day, we're not going to see anything done.
What type of espionage is going on with somebody that isn't just a dopey private giving it to a dopey website? What governments are really looking into what we're doing, more sensitive stuff on the internet, and just culling from databases all over our country. Like that makes you start thinking, if this idiot could do it, there are people that are probably a lot better trained, and they can suck up some of this sensitive information.
Well, I think one of the takeaways for that is, if people take the time to read all these documents. Here I am outraged about to release the documents, and now I'm saying, well, go read the documents, and take a look at this.
Them, yes.
But the Chinese, not just the Chinese. I mean, honestly, again, it's the same thing. People like to think that we're operating in some friendly world. Every other country acts according to its own best interest. The Chinese are trying to constantly screw us and steal our crap, right?
Of course.
And what they're doing is incredibly sophisticated. The Russians are the same way. I mean, all the way to the French and everybody else. And sometimes I tell you what, I having worked in the public and the private sectors now, and looking at how the U.S. companies try to protect themselves, it's not particularly encouraging, because we still have this mindset that it's not done, that if we operate on a level playing field, everything will be fine.
Yeah, and we tend to think that their technology is a lot more archaic than it is, and the Chinese, what do they got? A few bottle rockets and things. What are they going to do? And meanwhile, they're very sophisticated as far as ripping off our intelligence and whatnot. Speaking of China, what do you think about the Korean situation, North and South? Do you see that blowing up, quite literally? And what about China? Because years ago, obviously, China was a lot more communist than it is now. They've kind of settled into this capitalist communist thing. They love money, they love business, they love selling things, they love being part of that world economy. Do you think they would support a North Korea against South Korea as far as another kind of war goes on between the two?
Well, they wouldn't want to, but I think they'd feel like they have to. They'd be obligated, I think,
just
in a
as
sense.
An ally, because they really come off. I mean, North Korea completely just comes off as a spoiled little child of the world, making a ruckus every time they need to take some money out of the ATM. That is the United States.
That's right.
But I don't know if China would be as gung-ho to jump in there to defend communism and North Korea, knowing that they're a pariah on the world now.
Well, I don't think they care about that. The Chinese, they don't like change, right? I mean, so on the surface, you look and you think it's a little bit like Russia. Oh, it's transparent. Well, Putin's the same as Putin's ever been, and Putin is a long line of communist, authoritarian people. But you look at China, and China's never going to change, as long as they can help it, right? So the Chinese authorities, they're communist down to the very core, and they have no interest in seeing a change on the peninsula. What they really want is the status quo. Now, they understand they got to rein in the North Koreans, because they don't want a war, just like we don't want a war, but they don't want it for various reasons. They don't want millions and millions of North Koreans streaming across the border as refugees into China.
Right.
I mean, that idea scares the crap out of them. And they have no interest in seeing a unified Korea, because of the belief that it would.
That?
Well, because it would be friendly towards us.
But wouldn't it economically be kind of better for them to trade with a unified and democratic and productive country as a single Korea? Then, I mean, what are they doing with North Korea? I can't see them trading with them. They're not making any money selling
You've
goods.
never
They're
been
broke.
a Chinese authority, have you?
No.
You're
Never.
not thinking like a Chinese official.
I gotta think
you
like
gotta
a
think more like the
Chinese
Chinese. No, they that's not what they want. They don't. Again, they hate change. They hate the uncertainty of not knowing. And a unified Korea means they don't know what would happen. What they really need is for things to stay the same. What they need to do is, from their perspective, they're going to rein in. This happens on a regular cyclical basis. Every time there's a succession in authority there in North Korea involving Kim's family, and so he's passing it off to his son now because he's about dead. His dad, Kim Jong-il, Kim Il Jong, who can keep
Kim Jong-il.
straight? Kim Jong-il, the same thing. They rattled the cage a bit when that happened. Every time they feel ignored or they need some concessions, they'll rattle the cage. So this always follows a certain pattern. And what happens? We act outraged and then we give in, right? And then we give them some concessions, and then things go back to normal.
They shut up for a while, and then it goes back to them.
So why are we on the DMZ? I mean, why are we have 14,000 troops there? Why are we wasting that money? Why do we have troops in Germany? Like, for what? I don't care what these countries do to each other. I could care less. It's like all those troops, all that money being wasted could be taking care of stuff here. So we bellyache like little children that we don't have money, and we're wasting it protecting the South Koreans. Fuck the South Koreans.
Well, you know what they're there for? It's a good question, because if things really went south and a war started, believe me, those guys would be they'd be vaporized.
Overrun in a second.
So they're there as an insurance policy to convince the North Koreans and the Chinese not to do anything. And so what they've done is they figured out that the smallest number of troops they can have that will still be what they think to be insurance against the Chinese doing something or the North Koreans doing something stupid.
They're literally expendable. But it's that insurance policy that, like, wow, we'd have to kill 14,000 Americans, and that would kind of infuriate the world.
It's an act of war against America.
Keeps them it keeps them at bay. If we pulled out, they don't care how many Koreans they kill.
Right. So I'm saying is why do we do that? That's the policing.
Allies.
Enough. I'm tired of allies. Saudi Arabia.
Allies.
No, but I'm
tired of allies.
Hey, we do enough for these motherfuckers. Look what Europe did after the Soviet Union fell. Ungrateful. They can't stand us. I'm happy they're broke. I really do. I hope the whole fucking part of the world, they have to beg forever. I can't. There's no gratitude for the U.S.
No,
they hate us.
That's absolutely true. People talk about this, and I think that's something that the left has looked at over the past couple of years and thought, well, how come they don't like us now? Because Obama's been on this campaign for a couple of years of turning back the Bush years, and making us more acceptable overseas. It just doesn't matter. Right? We could give every major leader around the world a blowjob, and they won't care. They're not going to like us.
Obama was trying that when he first got elected. Jesus. Isn't that hysterical, too, that his whole platform of change, and believe me, I couldn't be happier that this is happening, but his whole platform of change and really getting on the Bush administration and what they had done over 8 years, and the Bush tax cuts being extended, there's still prisoners in Guantanamo. There's still two-front war going on. And the guy is absolutely George W. Bush.
No, it's true. I mean, it's true. You look at, and that's the part that probably more than anything drives people crazy on the left.
Yeah,
is the fact that when they look at all the counterterrorism measures put in place by Bush and Cheney over the past few years, the vast majority of those measures are still in place, and some of them have been kind of pushed even more aggressively under Obama, and it's driving the left nuts. But it's really an indication of Obama walked in there thinking he was going to close Guantanamo, and then he gets the actual brief. And he has a chance to sit in the big chair for a day.
That's true. He realizes he can't make the changes he wants. No. The system is what it is.
Right.
But when it's very tough to make major fucking changes as a president.
When you run and are elected
obviously doesn't want any of that shit you just mentioned.
Yeah. When you run and you're elected on that platform, though, you are going to piss off a lot of people when you don't do that.
Of course.
Like I said, I couldn't be happier that he didn't do that.
But you think going into it, he didn't realize how hard it would be?
Exactly.
I
think he was pandering to some degree, too.
Yes.
He knew what they wanted to hear. I mean, he's a great politician, right?
And politicians love campaigning and winning, but then doing the job, I think a lot of politicians get kind of like, uh-oh, now I got to do this? I was a great campaigner.
Right. And then realize how hard it actually is
and now the job itself is like, oh.
Wait a minute.
I was watching that press conference yesterday. He looked like an angry fucking man.
Yeah.
He was a frustrated, angry man.
Individual, too.
Was
Obama
is?
Yeah.
You should have saw the press conference yesterday. He was taking his shots, knowing that he's going to get beat up with what went on.
Was it Reed that came out and somebody said it looked like Reed's dog had been shot? That is such a great line. Like they are just beside themselves saying that the president caved.
He was not happy yesterday.
Like I said, though, couldn't be happier. I mean, I think extending the Bush tax cuts is good for to re-stimulate the economy. I think it's good for small and big business that are going to be doing the hiring and producing for the country. And I think cutting it off at $250,000 isn't realistic.
It makes no sense. I mean, it makes no sense. I'll tell you something. I run a small business, smallish size business, and true story. 4 weeks ago, we got a call in our little HR department from our health provider, and we provide our employees with a very good health package, and. They call up and just out of the blue
and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Sucking chest wound.
Fucking tough guys. God, I love it.
So they call up and say, we're raising your rates 30% as of the new year.
30%.
30% straight across the board. Didn't matter, single family coverage, whatever.
Can I talk to someone about that?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, that's what they said. I mean, they said, "Excuse me, is there something we can do to maybe negotiate?" No. So we've had to go through the process of changing coverage with another provider just to find something that's going to work.
Yeah. But the rates weren't high enough to begin with, so
So you were getting a really good. I'm sure you were getting a break anyway.
I don't know how they get away with that. It's unbelievable.
Do you? You said the big chair. You said something important. I think that Obama got to sit in the big chair, and I've always felt like we always have this illusion as guys not in the know that there's when you get the gig, then they tell you like you don't know this stuff campaigning. Here's what really happens. I guess that happens once you get elected or when you're president-elect, and then you realize what you can change. Because Obama would have pulled out troops. And he made them wait. And who was the general that was fired for the Rolling Stone article?
Oh, McChrystal.
McChrystal. He was angry about waiting for 30,000 more. But because I think Obama knew that was a tremendous no-no for his constituency or whatever. But is that what happens when these guys get elected? That all of a sudden they realize, like, idealistically, I would like to change this, but it's just not a realistic thing to do.
Right. I mean, once you're the president-elect, and they start giving you the
real
file
information?
marked real information.
Wait. Yeah. But who are those people that sit you down? Bill Burr has a great bit where he says they take you through the basement of the White House and show you where all the bodies are buried and what really happened with Kennedy and all that shit.
Show you the Kennedy assassination from 5 camera angles.
Yeah. That's Bill Hicks, right?
Yeah, that was Bill Hicks.
It was just Kennedy's brain in a jar.
I thought Burr had something on that, too.
Billy's got something on that.
Yeah, I confused it, too.
But that was great.
Two
Five
great
different angles.
comics, one dead, one alive, whatever. But, yeah, who actually gives the little speech to the president coming in?
There's a guy named Chuck. He's been there forever.
Chuck knows everything.
He's the guy with the big thing of keys on his belt.
He's a drunk and a blabbermouth.
Fucking Baker, obviously joking, but those guys usually know way more about a company than the guys you think should know.
At the CIA, you want to find out something, you go to the old ladies wearing the comfortable shoes who have been there for 35 years, walking up and down those hallways,
listening,
collecting files and taking pieces of paper down to the file room, and we actually do. We just got one file room with a key on it. That's access to information. Yeah, you got an old lady there, I come down to get the file.
Did you guys have fun at the CIA ever?
Yeah, we had a great time.
I bet it's a blast.
Is it a loose working environment?
Not so much in headquarters, but I spent almost all my time on the road. 17 years in overseas. Yeah, so
killing people,
and that's the way to do it. Yeah.
I would love to know who you killed. Let's be honest with each other.
Oh,
You're a bad man.
All right, if I get a copy of Straight Stunting magazine, I want that's what I would be as an interrogation subject. I'm not talking. Well, here's Straight Stunting. Okay. What do you need to know?
Well, here's the info.
You can win.
Wait a minute, look at it. No wonder she's got such a big ass. She's got chocolate syrup and whipped cream all over her.
How great is he? He's willing to talk about the big black asses now.
She can't even get it in her mouth.
What do you think is in the encrypted files, the terabyte that they have? People have downloaded the 256-bit encryption.
Oh, that poison pill thing.
People have downloaded.
I imagine there's a few things in that are unpleasant.
Yeah, I mean, again, you have to imagine that what they've done is they went through quickly all the documents and the sexiest stuff they pulled and said, "Oh, look at that," and they're probably either thinking they can monetize it or what they're talking about right now, which is hold it in case they need some leverage in terms of litigation.
How long would it take to read all those documents? How many years?
Oh, I could probably do it in a couple of days. I think. Yeah,
I'm
very clever.
When something like that comes out, how do they get all the knowledge out of it? You know what I mean? Like, who goes through it? Obviously,
I mean, if you've got paper copy, good luck. But electronic copies, you can start doing some keyword and key phrase searches.
Oh, is that how they do it?
Yeah. So then you break it down into areas.
Gotcha. And I knew there had to be a system because every once in a while something like this comes out where it's so much info it would be impossible to go through it immediately. But they have a way to understanding kind of what's in there already.
And you'll look through. You'll split it off according to classification. And his stuff's secret. This stuff's no foreign, meaning you can't release it to foreigners. And you take that stuff and you say, I'm going to go through that first.
I thought you got everyone in a room and said, okay, you read the first 852 pages
and give me a report tomorrow.
I want a book report on this. What do you think? Oh, were you going to start something?
No, I just wanted to say, does it in any way exonerate the U.S. too? Because it's like, I joked the other day about when this stuff came up, like, hey, where's all the fucking 9/11 conspiracy stuff that these morons have been bellyaching about?
Exactly.
Believe me, Assange
files?
would release it.
Yeah.
He would not sit on that. But, aside from addressing those asshats, how about, does it in a way exonerate the U.S. on any level? Like, this is as bad as it gets, and it's not that bad. Like, other countries are shit too, and now Fox was reporting that
not talking about torture and shit like that.
Right,
that's
right,
right.
Exactly. That would have really
Yeah.
been like, wow.
Yeah. I just came back from a good waterboarding session.
Yeah.
And now I'm
George
going
W.
to write up a
laughed.
cable. Yeah. Me and Dick Cheney, we had such a good time shoving that rag down his throat. But no, you don't. I think the winner in this is you're probably right. As the State Department comes across looking pretty pragmatic, pretty, sharper than you would have expected, right? They're having some reasoned discussion. Clinton probably is the winner. I hate to say it that way, but she looks better than I think people would have anticipated because she's running a pretty sharp, pretty analytical, aggressive group there that's not really known for any of those things.
Then why is she saying that? Sorry to interrupt you. Why is she saying that this is her last public office and she's embarrassed? Like, I don't understand what is her issue.
She needs to get away so that she can start raising funds to run for president.
Okay, so
That's my theory.
Really?
Yeah. I think she's gonna make a run for it.
I thought she said she
putting
wouldn't
that
do
out there.
And 12, or you think
12,
she's going to wait?
I think because their assessment, I think, is, you got all these people that are disappointed with Obama at this point who voted for him, and yet they feel good about themselves because they voted for the first African American president. So I can feel good about myself. And now you get a chance to vote for the first woman president, so you get a double dose of feeling good, right? And so she's I'm not saying that's the only reason, but there's probably a good strategy here if she gets out in time. But having said that, she'll probably run through the State Department until 2/12.
She's a lot more lower key than Condoleezza Rice was. Like, you always knew where Condoleezza Rice was and what she was doing. And it seems like with Hillary, months go by and it's like, where the hell has she been? Like, there's never any real news or footage of her overseas talking with diplomats or world leaders or anything. You rarely see that.
Yeah, she's been a team player, I guess, is probably the way to put it.
Odd, not very confrontational, I guess. Just kind of. Yeah.
Honestly, there's a lot of people I think out there that think, I wish she'd been running instead of Obama.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I hate to say this because I don't have a dog in the hunt. I wouldn't have voted for either, but I think that she actually would have probably been tougher.
I think she's tougher than he is too, actually.
Yeah,
on foreign policy and all that stuff.
Right.
He does seem to. Well, the initial thing when he went out on the Air Force One apology tour, it was just embarrassing. How he was going to, clean up George W.'s. World mess by going around and bowing and shaking hands and flying all over the place with "I'm sorry" painted on the bottom of Air Force One. It really looked weak, and it was him trying so hard to get everyone like us now again. Hey, there's a new boss here. You could like us now.
Right.
And it just didn't play.
Well, and I think they've seen that too with Afghanistan. Not to blast off there, but everybody was expecting, okay, we're out of here now. Great.
Right.
And look at that. I mean, and frankly, I'm not sure that we've actually had the conversation yet as a nation that says, what really is our reason for still being in Afghanistan? After all these years, is there and talk about ungrateful. I mean, it's not just that they're ungrateful; they don't even know why we're there.
They have no clue. No. They're still so broken up, and there's no unity between their people. It's these warlord mentalities that they got going over there. What are we doing over there at this point? I mean, we went after bin Laden. We didn't get him there. We got close.
We didn't
apparently.
go after him, man.
There's
a reason why we didn't catch him.
There was a deal made. God. Oh, you're probably just sitting there going, I was just talking to that guy last week.
We know exactly where he is. No, I mean, you know what? They went in. They did a great job right after 9/11.
Yeah.
We should have used the lessons of our recent past. I mean, we spent a lot of time getting the Soviets out of there, right?
Sure.
And the Soviets got into Afghanistan, and then inside of about 3 years, inside the Politburo, they made the decision: we got to get the hell out. There's no reason for us to be here. It took them 5 years to get the hell out of there.
They didn't want to look bad.
Right. And they didn't know what to do about the government. How are we going to leave a stable government? Yeah. They couldn't control the countryside, so they retreated to the cities. What does all this sound like? And yet we want to stand around and say, well, we've got this brand new strategy.
And it's the same thing
the same
Soviets
crap.
did.
Why is Afghanistan such a tough country to control?
It's for a variety of reasons.
Obviously, a lot of people say you'll never win. You hear that a lot. Why is that?
Well, there's a lot of things that go into it. I mean, just very simple topography. It's like the mountains of the moon, right? I mean, there's trying to control a country that size with so little capability to move, and that's why there's this heavy reliance on helicopters, on air traffic. And then there's the notion that this is all they've got, right? I mean, where are they going to go? We didn't learn that lesson, I don't think, even from Vietnam. There's no place else for them to go. We keep talking about, well, we got the Taliban on the run, and they've got less territory. Well, good luck, Sherlock. We're going to leave there, and a year later, what do we think? They set up someplace else? They're just going to come back.
Yeah,
they have nowhere to go. It's all the Afghans know. I mean, we go out and we look at big black asses for a hobby. They go out and fight each other for a hobby.
Yeah.
That's what they do. The illiteracy rate, lack of understanding as to what the hell we talk about when we mean democracy, and then, like you said, this incredible fragmented society where my only allegiance is to the elder in my village.
Yes,
right. Yeah. There's no unity, and the topography is just impenetrable.
Right.
Amazing.
The Virus. Sirius-XM. This is the Opie and Anthony Show.